So Mark Cavendish accepts the congratulations of race director Mick Bennett and will make his way to the presentation platform very shortly, where he'll receive his prize for stage victory on the fourth day of racing in this year's Tour of Britain. This glorious sunshine over Llanberis at the foot of Mount Snowdon after what's been a very, very entertaining stage indeed. And that group up front, it looked as if they were going to hang on for a little while longer. Inside the final kilometres, Kryzek of the Cannondale team went for it, but it was just a little bit too little and a little bit too late, because they'd been hounded down by the bunch behind. And while it wasn't exactly perfect for setting things up, it wasn't exactly the ideal setup for the sprinters teams, was it?
I just got a little bit messy with them catching the breakaway so late, and you know, there was an awful lot of traffic to negotiate and get through before you could actually get together as a leader. And it's just one of them things that happen, but still, you know, fantastic the way Mark managed to pick his way through that together with Pataki. It took him up there right to where he needed to be with you know, 350, 400 meters to go. And yeah,
it'd be great relief that partnership is starting to gel. Not just that he managed to pick out a win, because if he'd picked out a win flying solo, it wouldn't give him as much satisfaction as the fact that he's actually starting to already build that partnership.
No, definitely. I think it's important that they start working together. And you know, Pataki took a good turn for him. Had to go a little bit too early, potentially, to really launch a proper lead out for him as such. He had to still play off the back of one of the other riders. I think it was one of the Bardiani riders that were up there on the front. And with that, you know, it's I think Mark would still prefer a slightly less chaotic lead out than what he got. You can see him right at the bottom of your screen here now. He's got 2-3 riders in front of him, and then all of a sudden it gets very messy. Pataki then decides to go on the right hand side, has to go a little bit too early, but he keeps on going and keeps on going for as long as he's got the power for. Had to sit down to try and sort of drag race his way past, and then Cav decides to go with Bardiani as he sees Pataki's about to get boxed in.
Bellucci of IAM it was that lit things up and went first. His major sprinter, of course, Hausler, been up the road all day. But Mark Cavendish, little difficulty in coming around Bellucci. Looked for a little while from the head-on shot as if Viviani was going to be able to get there, but never made any real inroads. And as Viviani just swung to the left after the sprint, while Steele Van Hoff had nowhere to go. Only his immense strength really managed to keep him upright.
I would say pure luck.
You don't think that was talent? That was just... yeah.
You know, I'm just going to put that out there. That is pure luck that you managed to stay upright on a thing like that. And obviously a fair bit of bike handling skills, but it all comes down to luck when you get caught on the back wheel.
He needs to put a pound in the charity jar tonight.
Yeah.
He got a result out of that one. So great success for Mark Cavendish. Nicely controlled too by Sky Pro Cycling. Amazing piece of poker played by the bunch behind to actually get the group at the death. They might really have been a bit happier to have closed down that early breakaway a little bit earlier, but superb riding by the 11 riders up front. They gave themselves a great chance. At one stage, it looked as if they were going to hang on. Don't forget, we'll have full live coverage of tomorrow's stage from Machynlleth to Caerphilly. 177 kilometres of racing for the riders tomorrow. We're at 2 p.m. on British Eurosport live for that stage. And we've got Grand Prix de Wallonie coming up immediately after this broadcast. We'll have the presentation coming up very shortly, and then we're into Grand Prix of Wallonie with Carlton Kirby and Tony Gibb in the commentary box, taking you through that. I think we're going to hear
Scully,
from Tom
Team
Scully.
Rally. A wonderfully difficult day out there. What happened in the finale? Because there was lots of attacks and you got caught by the bunch near the end.
I think everyone in the group was just trying to get their own way to the line as quick as possible. Maybe if we worked together a little bit more, we could have got there. But the bunch was right on us and caught us just under the red flag with 1K to go. So last man standing.
In relation to the way that the group worked, it appeared to be working pretty well. But again, did you get information in relation to the time gaps from the finale? Because there were several attacks and the gap got shut down very, very quickly.
Yeah, we knew it was getting closer and closer, and up that final climb, I just rode a good timber to try and, you know, stop the attacks from going over the top, and then regrouped on the descent, and it was a bit messy there, and then it was just, yeah, everyone like going for themselves.
So you obviously tried to almost lead out. You'd been caught, then you went again. I mean, what was your plan for the final a couple of kilometres?
I was just hoping that maybe someone would just give me a little gap so I could thing, but I don't think I was ever going to get there today. The peloton was screaming. And
did you have a chance previously on any training camps to recce the course today at all? So was it familiar to you, or was it all into the unknown?
I was all into the unknown. Coming into the finish, I didn't even have the speedo on my bike was working. I lost the magnets halfway through, so it was just sort of, yeah, looking for the K to go sign.
So coming off the back of the Tour Series, I mean, you've had a wonderful season criterion-wise. Obviously, this is a completely different kettle of fish, isn't it, the stage racing? How are the legs?
Surprisingly, the legs aren't too bad. I put myself through a bit of a training camp leading into this, and then a few races in Belgium. So, yeah, really happy with how the legs are, and all that hard work's paid off.
Tom Scully, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah, the peloton certainly were screaming in, weren't they? Great effort from Tom Scully, who was part of that breakaway so much of the day, and who took some useful points towards the Yodel Direct Sprints competition along the way. Sprinting there against Aaron Gate, who himself was part of that breakaway group. Early on, Tom Scully it was that we just heard from. Very shortly, we'll see the man who won the stage, Mark Cavendish. A great relief too, I think, for Bradley Wiggins, that things were nicely controlled at the end. It was relatively straightforward in the end. We'll hear from Mark Cavendish now, and he must be a greatly relieved man.
Okay, Mark Cavendish, another victory to add to your fantastic Palmares, but what a nail-biting finale. How did you pick your way through the melee?
Ali Pataki, Alessandro brought me up in perfect position. Guys were going, and then he'd gone from about 800, took me up the side of the bunch, and then yeah, then Bardiani guys went. I jumped onto them, and then Palucci from IAM went, and I went onto him, and then went. It was just kind of hopping there in the last 500 meters, but yeah, without the guys, no, I was there. You know, everyone stayed. We stayed at the front behind Sky the whole day. Everyone stayed with me on the climb, and then we moved to the front of the descent, and then Alessandro just showed how old and wild he is, you know, and he stayed there, he waited, then he came up the last minute, and I was able to jump. But it was a fast finish. Everyone was still a bit burning the legs from the climb, you know, but I'm really happy now today.
You're riding sort of fourth or fifth wheel all day long, well, a lot of the time behind the Sky train. I mean, the gap back 140 going into the final climb, did you ever think it was going to come back together? At what point did you think, this is going to be one for me?
2K to go, really. We spoke to Sky, they didn't really want it to come back. They'd kind of liked out there in a minute. And then, yeah, then Dan Martin went over the top, that stretched it a bit down, but still it would have been till a couple of guys went, 4 to go. They went on the front. I don't really know what they went on the front for, but they went on the front of the peloton to kind of pull it back, and we could see it getting closer. But it made it quite dangerous, you know, catching a break of 11 riders in the last kilometre. You know, it creates carnage on the road, and that kind of broke up a lot of the sprint team. So I was lucky I had Alessandro there, and he moved me back up.
One last question, Mark. What's it like having Pataki as your wingman?
That's really good. We've been rivals a lot of my career. He's an old guy, but he's a really, really good guy. He settled in brilliantly into this team, and yeah, it was a big factor. Obviously, I want to ride at my home race, but a big factor for me to the fact that he was riding here. You know, I wanted to see how we work together, and it's working out okay, I think. So he was second the first day after leading me out. I lost his wheel, and he still managed to get second. So happy we're in today. There's still a couple more sprints to go, and yeah, hopefully we do well there at the weekend.
Mark Cavendish, thanks very much.
Thank you.
So Mark Cavendish flies first class on Alleyjet to victory on stage 4 of this year's Tour of Britain, and he seems very, very pleased indeed about how things are working out with himself and Pataki.
Yeah, I'm not sure Pataki will be too pleased in Mark calling him an old guy, but you know,
he's wily.
He's certainly a wise man when he comes into to the finishes. He knows how to pick his way through there, and he's done a great job today, I think, in getting him to the position where he could actually open up his sprint. And you know, it's not always about the lead out to drop them off at the last 200 meters, you know, a full flight. It's also a question of getting your sprinter into position where he can pick his way through. And that sometimes, certainly when it's as messy a finish as this was, that's as vital as it is to have someone actually launching that sprint for you. So Pataki's certainly doing a fantastic job, but Netap and Jura did a great job in closing that final little gap down. Obviously hoping for Scott Thwaites doing a good sprint. But
Scotty did a great job of closing down Kajsa that time and just gunning for glory himself, but Hausler wasn't going to give him any margin at that point inside the final 2 kilometers. At this stage you thought, well, maybe somebody from this group could just about possibly hang on.
Yeah, I was expecting Wilkinson's to have a go at this point, just do a big flyer from coming from behind there. There's certainly a couple of good opportunities for him to have gone round about here and got a good gap, you know. And but yeah, they were all kind of looking at trying to get the right position coming in for the sprint, and before they knew it, the Netap and Jura guys had put the hammer down and they were brought back. But looking at Omega Pharma Quickstep here, they're sitting in a very nice position, just on the back of the Netap and Jura guys, and that's the position they needed to be in. They needed to be right at the front when they caught these guys, because 11 riders, that's a fair amount of traffic to go through. So, you know, it was a well-timed effort, and good to see our Heinrich Hausler here on the front right now as well. You know, still with some power in his legs, coming into the final of a very hard day out, and you know, spending the whole day out in the breakaway, but he's still pedaling around as soon as he broke his pelvis back in Tour de Suisse earlier on in the year.
Kryzek was the last attacker from the break. The break still racing, setting things up for the bunch, but as Cavendish said, it wasn't exactly the smoothest of setups for the sprinter teams. It was Chris Opie that got up for Team UK Youth, actually. Ends up in the top 10.
Yeah, Opie was up there. He's in a good wheel right here now, and then just, well, it's actually Wilkinson looking at these pictures, sitting right up there. You know, he's obviously had enough legs left to try and do something. Opie's coming up a little bit further back, I can see there. Just moving to the front a little bit too late, but Palucci goes, and he goes really quite well. But Mark obviously spots him, perfect moment, and then there's just no question about who's the fastest man once Cavendish opens up the sprint.
So Mark Cavendish takes the 8th stage win in the Tour of Britain of his career. Steele Van Hoff stays upright. Arguably just as good a victory, and Mark Cavendish makes his way onto the presentation platform to acknowledge the cheers of the crowd in Llanberis. And the grin is wide for the man from the Isle of Man. Well, wins mean a lot to him, and none more so than a victory in Tour of Britain.
With a whole host of prizes, our stage winner here, Mark Cavendish, Omega Pharma Quickstep.
And it certainly bodes well for Cavendish going forward into 2014, that they seem to be getting that sprint train nicely pieced together. Whether there are more pieces of the puzzle they need to put together.
Well, seeing as Mark Renshaw has already signed on, so I think they have a strong lead-out train. Stegmans is still in there as well, you know, so that they got some strong riders coming into to build for the future. But it's going to be interesting to see with Omega Pharma Quickstep in the future as well, whether they decide that they you know, going to have a man for the general classification, and then do they then need to look after him, or is he just going to do a solo ride in the mountains? You know, it's a difficult combination, as we've seen in the past, having sprinters and GC guys in the same team.
So Aaron Gates will wear the Yodel Sprints competition leaders jersey into tomorrow's stage. It's been a very productive stage for him, the man from New Zealand. And he's able to smile after a tough day in the saddle, absolutely delighted. Heading into tomorrow's stage, Machynlleth to Caerphilly, as I said, 177 kilometres, 110 miles We're live on Eurosport at 2 p.m. tomorrow. 4 Cat 1 ascents, including twice up Caerphilly Mountain in the last 13 kilometres. What are we going to see tomorrow, Magnus? Lots of attacking?
Well, I think it's going to be another break going quite early on. It's a tough old ride down to Caerphilly, and then I think the racing is going to happen on that mountain, and it will be fierce racing as well. It just lends itself to attacks all the way around that whole finishing circuit, and one of the fastest descents as well that you can probably do on a bike coming off the top of the Caerphilly mountain. I remember last year I topped out at 105k an hour on my own, so there's certainly enough thrills to be had tomorrow.
So Ruiz Angel Madrazo, the man they call McLovin, takes the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey into tomorrow. And he mopped up some very, very significant points today. Going to be tough to unseat him from that. He gets the Yeti. And the Movistar team are definitely lighting up this race. They're here to get involved. And there's rarely been a move of significance that hasn't included a rider from the Movistar team. Madrazo comfortably scoring more points than Anthony Delaplace of the Soyuzon squad on each of the 3 mountains today. And the 24-year-old, 25-year-old actually, that has spent 5 years now on that team. Very much a fixture.
This is for the chain reaction cycles points competition. The leader in
and Madrazo, it'll be interesting to see whether he manages to add to his points total. He spent so much time up front. I wonder whether he'll have what it takes. And now the chain reaction sprints competition is being led by Elia Viviani of the Cannondale squad. Points competition, actually, the leader of the points competition is Elia Viviani, the Italian who's well, he described that stage 1 victory as a massive, massive relief. He's come out of a dark tunnel and absolutely thrilled to get it. So didn't quite manage to pip Mark Cavendish to the win today. But still, the Tour of Britain is producing plenty of smiles for the Italian rider.
The chain reaction for the points leaders jersey taken away by Elia Viviani of Cannondale. Thank you to William Morton.
Just perhaps left his effort a little bit late. There's the general classification. No change really of any significance. Great effort from Jack Bauer off the top of the final climb to try and close down that 55-second gap to Bradley Wiggins and Ian Stannard in front. Elmiger for IAM, it's been a good week for them, involved in everything, still sitting 3rd overall and still very dangerous to Bradley Wiggins' ambitions to take overall victory. Douse at 2 in 5th place for Movistar. Well, it's been a good week for him. David Lopez makes it 3 Skyriders in the top 6. Golash, of course, slipped down a little bit after the time trial, but still right there. The diminutive figure could well be a significant figure in tomorrow's mountainous stage to Caerphilly. And Bradley Wiggins retains the overall lead of Tour of Britain and will wear the IG Gold jersey into tomorrow's stage to Caerphilly. And the man from Kilburn, based in Lancashire, is on absolutely fabulous form heading to the World Championships in a couple of weeks. Hand-flat course with a little bit of a lump in the middle, we understand, for the time trial riders there. And who would bet against him taking a world time trial title to add to the Olympic time trial title that he currently has? It's been a bit of a lean year for him since taking Tour de France victory, but things happening a little bit for Bradley Wiggins in the back end of this season. Well, Brad Wiggins off to get his massage and a bit of food as quickly as possible. I'm sure he has a few interviews to do as well. And he'll be looking forward to tomorrow's stage to Caerphilly. We're on at 2 p.m. on British Eurosport tomorrow. Don't forget, we've got more cycling action coming up immediately after this broadcast. It's Grand Prix of Wallonie. Please hang on for that. But from myself and Magnus, we'll be back tomorrow. Please do join us for that. From now, it's goodbye.
Britain cyclists have conquered the world. Now they're coming home.